What's up, guys? My name is Javier and welcome back to another episode of Tool Craze. A while back I had a viewer ask about Ryobi's bandsaw and their 10-inch drill press. So here we have both so we can check them out. These are both their current models with their 9-inch bandsaw model BS904G, which is pretty much the same as their previous model, except that now it's green instead of blue. And over here we have the 10-inch drill press model DP103L. If you're new to woodworking and you're looking for a bandsaw and a drill press that won't break the bank, you're probably going to come across these two while you're doing your research for which models to get. You can take a look on Craigslist, but most that can be found are going to be easily over $100. And you're going to end up with old, beat-up, rusted models. So one of the biggest selling points for these two models is their price, as they're both $130 each. And this actually brings them right there with Harbor Freight pricing, but with many more features. And besides the pricing, what also makes these great for people getting into woodworking is the size. Many people don't have the room for full-size models, and these are great because they don't take up too much space. Here I have them set up on a workbench, and because of their size, I can fit both the bandsaw and drill press along with an extra tabletop sander. You can also bolt them both down if you want to keep them in a permanent spot. Bolting them down also keeps them stable as they can't be tipped over, and it also helps reduce the felt vibrations. But even when not bolted down, their vibration is low. I didn't bolt them down because I don't have much space to work with, and I like to move them around on the table so I can make room for my router table as space is limited. What's great about the drill press is you get a bunch of features for the price. You get a built-in LED light, which is underneath in a fixed position. This is useful because many people don't have good lighting in their garage, so it helps light up the workpiece. You also get a dual laser system that casts the necks on the workpiece to help you line up your holes. Out of the box, the laser mark wasn't spot on, as we can see here, as it's off by 1/8 of an inch to the side. But the good news is that you can adjust the laser lines so you can get a perfect X line of sight. Like many drill presses in this price range, the table height can be adjusted easily with a rack and pinion system to raise and lower the table. And you can also tilt the table up to 45 degrees to the left or to the right if you want to drill holes at an angle. To tilt the table, you have to loosen this hex bolt here, tilt the table to either side, and then retighten. You can drill holes up to 2 inches deep, and on the left side, you have a ruler so you can measure how deep you're going, and also has collars you can set how deep you want your hole to stop so you don't over drill. The top cover houses the spindles, and it's made out of plastic. I'm not crazy that they went with a plastic cover, but it's forgivable at this price range. Inside you can adjust its 5 speeds. On these types of stationary shop tools, instead of sliding a switch to change speeds, you have a belt-driven spindle system. And to change speeds, you have to move the belt up or down the spindles to change speeds. This is very similar to the type of gearing system found on bicycles. You have the highest speed on top, and this is good for high-speed drilling with smaller twist bits into wood or even smaller holes into metal. And as you need to make larger holes, and for much harder materials, you move the belt down to the lower speeds where greater torque is needed. I use it to drill a few holes into a project I have, building small stairs for our dogs. I made 2 designs onto the boards, one of a dog bone in which I used a 1.5-inch spade bit to bore out holes for the ends of the dog bone, which was done effortlessly with this drill press. And I also drilled a few holes using a 3/8 of an inch twist bit on another board to make a dog paw design. The holes were so I could fit a jigsaw blade and finish the design. Using a drill press for this type of job made the job much easier than using a handheld drill, and also ended up with perfectly level holes. Those previous holes were done on softwoods, and just to demonstrate how it does on hardwoods, I drilled some more 3/8 inch holes, but this time into some birchwood, which as you could see was still done very easily with this drill press. Now for something a bit harder. I took a 1/4 inch piece of steel and I drilled a 3/16 of an inch hole using a twist bit. Anytime you drill into metals, make sure to use some cutting oil so you don't burn your drill bits. Now let's take a look at the bandsaw. This model is a 9-inch bandsaw, and what this means is that you have a 9-inch clearance between the blade to the housing on the left side of the saw. This capacity keeps the saw compact, but also limits the size of larger boards that you can cut. And as for cutting height, you can fit materials up to 3 5/8 inches tall. This particular model is a single speed with a belt-driven motor that runs a blade at 2,500 feet per minute. As for materials, it's mostly made of metal, while the 2 doors that house the wheels and blade are made of plastic. At this price range this is common, but one thing I wasn't too crazy about was the plastic blade guide. I did like that it runs on a rack and pinion system to move up and down, but didn't like that it was all plastic. It has a decent sized table made out of aluminum, and it also runs on a rack and pinion system for tilting the table from 0 to 45 degrees. It doesn't have a light like previous models, so you're going to have to rely on good lighting in your shop. And on the side, it has a blade viewing window so you can see the tracking on the blade to keep an eye on it without having to open the doors to inspect if the blade is center or not. One feature I found to be very useful on this bandsaw was a lever on the back of the saw that helps to lower and to raise the top wheel, making it extremely easy and extremely fast when swapping out blades. This is much easier than having to tighten and untighten the tension knob to remove and install blades. One thing that is missing on this bandsaw is a rib fence to make long straight cuts. At this price range I don't find it to be a big issue, and also many people looking for a bandsaw in this price range are mostly looking for a bandsaw for making curved cuts, which is what this saw is very useful for. Most users in this price range are better off looking at a table saw if they want to make long straight cuts. It does come with a miter gauge to help push material at an angle. Saws make a ton of dust, and over in the back it has a vacuum port so you can attach a vacuum if you want to keep dust at a minimum. This saw comes with 1/4 inch blade, and out of the box it wasn't installed. It was inside the unit, but not on the blade wheels. Getting it on was easy, and out of the box I didn't need to adjust the blade tension, and the blade didn't roll off the wheels. It wasn't exactly on the center of the tire though, but a slight adjustment of the tracking knob got it back on the center. This bandsaw uses a belt-driven motor, and the good news for me was that the bottom blade wheel was aligned correctly with the belt. If for some reason the belt isn't aligned correctly out of the box, you have options to adjust the bottom blade wheel, which can be adjusted on the back of the saw. And you can also adjust the motor shaft by sliding the motor to either side from the back of the bandsaw. Once you have the saw table and the blade properly installed and aligned, you're ready to start cutting. The 1/4 inch blade isn't the best blade for scroll cutting, but it was good enough for regular curves for my project. I used this bandsaw to make the curved cuts into the workpieces of the dog stairs and to finish where the drill press left off. This first cut was done to the side of the stairs to give it a little bit of style from the boring basic squared shape. It was a very simple curved cut that I traced out. Nothing fancy or anything, and it was very easy to cut out. I used a softwood called whitewood for the lumber, and the saw pushed through the cut very easily. It may look like the saw is going slow, but it's actually me taking my time to make sure not to go too fast and screw up the wood and destroy the workpiece with all sorts of errors. So slow and steady I went. And here's what the cut looks like when it's all done. I also made the other side of the stairs with the same exact cut, so no need to show you that cut as it's the same thing. The other cut I did on the stairs was a dog bone shape, which will go in the back of the stairs for support and for decoration. This wasn't a hard cut at all, but it did require a lot of little cuts to cut out the entire shape. And here's what it looks like after it's been completed. So all those previous cuts were done into soft wood, and now let's see how it handles hardwood with the same piece of birchwood we've seen the drill press drill holes into. The first few cuts were to cut out the sections for the tool craze nameplate, and the rest of the cuts were done to cut away all the excess to make the detailed final shape. And here's what the nameplate looks like after all the cuts have been done with the bandsaw. The center holes were done with the drill press, and then finished with a jigsaw. And at this point, the nameplate isn't quite finished yet. I still have to file away all the rough edges and do the final sanding before I apply any finish, which I'll do that later when I get a chance. So both were great tools to use in hobbies and crafts, as I use them to build a small piece of furniture and the small tool craze nameplate. I thought they were both great tools and perfect for those starting out into woodworking with either a small budget for new tools, and great for those that don't have much space to store these. I didn't really have any big dislikes for these, except for the use of plastic on a few parts, and possibly a rib fence on the bandsaw. but this is in line with what you would expect to find at this price range. I did like, however, how they both had a few great features on each, such as the dual lighting system on the drill press with both a fixed LED light and a double laser sight. And on the bandsaw, I love the rapid set blade tension system, which makes installing blades very quickly and very easily. One thing to note is that there is a bit of assembly on both units out of the box. Not so much on the bandsaw, as all you have to do is install a table and that's it. But you do have to assemble the drill press. It's not much, but it does require some common sense to put together. The bandsaw, on the other hand, requires a bit of patience to install and adjust the blade if you're new to bandsaws, so make sure to read the manual carefully. Alright guys, thanks for stopping by and checking out the Ryobi 9-inch bandsaw and 10-inch drill press. Let me know what you guys think of these in the comment section below, and make sure to like this video, subscribe, follow me on social media, and over at the web at toolcraze.net for more tool reviews and tool news. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.